Greetings everyone, my name is Greg. In this video, I am going to give the top 10 reasons why if a God would exist, it would be pissed at religion. I do need to give a bit of a disclaimer regarding this top 10 list and the stupid 4 omnis that are associated with God. Since the Bible pitches God as being akin to a parent, 3 out of the 4 omnis must be discarded. The reason for this is simple. A child does view their parent as being all-knowing, even though they actually aren't. A child also views their parent as being all-powerful, again, even though they actually aren't. The same is true with the parent being everywhere, because up until a certain age, for the child, the parent is their entire world. What all of these show is the limited perception of the child, that as this perception changes and the child grows, they realize that these ideas simply aren't true. This realization doesn't shatter the child's world and render them unable to function. They adapt to the new understanding without much of a hitch. Oh, there could be some crying when the parent leaves them at preschool for the first time. However, the child adjusts to the new situation and isn't going through the preschool raping and slaughtering other kids. So, Christians, if you need to cry at your sky daddy leaving you at Earth preschool, the atheist will understand. I promise we won't make you eat paste or give you a diaper wedgie. Right, atheists? The first of the omnis that I am going to be addressing is omniscience. Regarding omniscience, unlimited knowledge, knowing everything, this idea in itself renders any reaction to any event completely meaningless, as the God would have known it was going to happen. If an event would have upset it, then logically it could have made sure that that event didn't happen. With this quality in place, it means that any event that happens had to be in accord with what the God wanted, otherwise it wouldn't have happened. With this one idea, free will can't exist, as the God would have known all of the choices everyone would make eons before they ever had a chance to make them. The next is the idea of omnipotent, unlimited power, able to do anything. As this quality would render any event that would piss a God off, it could completely prevent. Even without omniscience, it would be able to step in at any instant and prevent anything that it didn't want to have happen. Stepping in could be as simple as altering the cause and effect aspect of any situation and inserting an outcome that it would actually want. With this one idea, free will is kryptonite to this Superman God, as any action it could take would have a direct impact on a person or people as a group's free will. If it can't interfere with free will, then being omnipotent is meaningless, as it can't interfere. The third is omniscience, which is unlimited powers of creation. This one is redundant when it comes to omnipotent, because omnipotent already covers the idea of unlimited power. You don't need to have a different omni for unlimited powers of creation if you have unlimited power and able to do anything with omnipotent. So just in the 4, we have one that is redundant. The only omni that I'll leave in place for this top 10 list is omnipresent, because without the other 2, or really 3 if you count the redundant, the God can be everywhere at once but not be able to interfere without completely screwing up free will. What should also be noted regarding the 4 omnis, beyond the fact that one is redundant, is that they render the God of the Bible logically impossible, as it would completely piss on the idea of free will, as well as having any reaction to any event like I previously mentioned. Now, on to the top 10 list. Number 10. Religions are tribal and have been the source of the majority of the world's problems. If a God would actually exist, it would have to be beyond the petty my group is better than your group way of thinking, especially given how this tribal team mentality is the cause of much conflict, just on the simple fact that everyone is different and some are not going to agree with your ideas. Number 9, the concept of original sin. Of all of the ideas people could have had about a God, this has to be among the dumbest. The reason this is so insanely stupid and would piss a God off is the simple fact that it makes the God look like a total buffoon. It doesn't take being all-knowing to realize that if you make forbidden the knowledge of good and evil, then you are making forbidden the ability to learn and grow, as we learn and grow through trial and error. Plus, why the hell would being naked be a bad thing? Young children don't give a shit about running around naked. I know this because I have nephews, and I saw one run out of the bathroom butt-ass naked without a care in the world. It is the parents that freak the hell out and instill the idea that the child must wear clothing. Number 8, the idea that without heaven and hell there is no reason to be good or moral. This would piss a God off because it means that all of the actions that these people are doing are completely self-centered. That the only reason they're not doing evil things is they don't want to be tortured. Or the only reason they do good things is they want a reward. It means all of their actions are driven by a self-centered desire, either for a reward or not to be hurt. It means that they actually don't want to do anything for anyone. They're only interested in themselves. Number 7, a human made into a deity. I realize that Christians want to try and act like there is a trinity with this God. However, what that is doing is it is turning a monotheism into a pantheon. And it is trying to do so while saying it is a monotheism by having it as the three are actually one. If you have 3 beings that are distinct, different beings, you have 3 beings. You can't say that it is one being, because that would render this being as being schizophrenic, which would also piss a God off, especially if it is the God of the Old Testament, because it is made abundantly clear in the Old Testament that this God is the only one. That it has no kid, there is no one else but it. I can give book, chapter, and verse for that. The thing is, this whole notion of a half man, half God, for one, it's not part of the not part of the criteria for Messiah. It is also showing that the person can't, by their very basis, be the Messiah, because they wouldn't have the tribal affiliation, because that comes from bloodline of the Jewish father. You do not have tribal affiliation passed on by adoption. Simply doesn't work that way in Judaism. The thing is, this idea of a half man, half God is far more influenced by what's termed pagan origins. The Romans, the Greeks, with their half man, half God, with Hercules and the others of that nature that have this half man, half God type of thing. It's simply, if a God would exist, this idea that there is a human that is elevated to the level of a deity, and that it is worshipped and so forth as the God. The God is being replaced by a human being. Then we have number 6, It goes right along in line with number 7, idolizing other people or groups, be it Paul, Mary, or any of the so-called saints, or the Pope, or even people's worshipful mindset of their church or religious denomination. People elevate other people to a degree of stardom or fame or idolization that if a God would exist, it would have to regard it as insulting to it, because you're trying to replace the God with these other people. You may admire those people all you want. You may like what they say. You may like your sports teams. You may like your wrestlers. You may like your rock stars. You may like your actors. You may like your celebrities. However, to try and elevate them to being almost godlike. If a God would exist, it would have to regard it as insulting, because you are trying to replace the God with this other person that you can see. Now, from an atheist point of view, I can understand why people would want to elevate a person to being a deity, because, well, you can actually see that person. Or we can at least have depictions of that person, be it Jesus, even though he was never a Christ because he didn't fulfill the criteria for that job. The thing is, be aware what this is doing is it is making people into the thing that is being worshipped. And if a God would exist, this would have to be pissing it off, because you are trying to push it to the side in favor of people. Number 5, people claiming to know what God wants, likes, and doesn't like. If a God would exist, this would have to insult it, because what you have are evolved primates trying to act as if they know what a God would want, or what it would like, or what it wouldn't like, and what they're really doing is they're pushing their own agenda. In effect, they're making themselves into the God, because the wants, likes, and don't likes are what they want, what they like, what they don't like. If a God would actually exist, it would look at these people and be, who the hell are you to be talking for me? Who the hell are you to be saying what I like, when what you're saying is what you like? Number 4, people profiting on the poverty and suffering of others. The thought with this is largely the televangelists that live like fucking kings in $1 million mansions with jets and showing a very extravagant lifestyle, while they take money from people that can't afford it, because these people are hoping and wishing for some divine intervention in their life to help them with either an illness or their hard times in a monetary situation, or whatever the circumstance of their life may be. These televangelists, these Christian ministers, are profiting and living like fucking royalty on the backs of the poor. They are not giving their riches to help the poor. They aren't doing a goddamn thing to help the poor, or they're doing goddamn little to help anyone. They're more interested in helping themselves. If a God would exist, it would have to be absolutely livid at the way these televangelists that are talking about God and pushing about God and wanting you to give to God, but yet they're not giving to a God. They're not wanting you to give to a God. They're wanting you to give to them, which is they're making themselves a God and wanting you to worship them. Which, if a God would exist, all of you religious that bow and defend your idols, be it Jack Van Impe, Benny Hinn, John Hagee, whatever televangelist you like, You would be slapping the God you claim to believe in the face and acting as if you want your minister God or your church God or your denomination God. Number 3, treating the God like a genie in a bottle. These are all things that, from the way I'm looking at it, the God would be flipping the fuck out. Especially this number 3, treating it like a genie in a bottle. This one also correlates with these Christians that say about, I'll pray for you, to someone like me. Don't. I don't want you to. Frankly, if you have magical powers with prayers, why aren't you ending hunger? Why aren't you ending the wars in this world? Why aren't you making this world a paradise? Why aren't you doing something that can be demonstrable evidence that this works? Why aren't you having yourself hitting the lottery, being a billionaire, having your heart's desires on a whim because of your wishes? If your wishes are so damn powerful, why is your life shit? Not to mention, who is the one with the powers? Is it you? Or is it this God? Because what it comes down to is, you Christians are treating your God literally like a genie in a bottle, the Aladdin's lamp. You rub the lamp, but you assholes don't want just the 3 wishes from mythology with the Aladdin's lamp. You want unlimited fucking wishes. You want to be able to have your rub the lamp anytime you want. Your God genie comes out and does your bidding. It's not about you serving a God. It is about the God coming out and going, yes, massa, to you. If a God would exist, I would see it as this would have it fucking livid. Basically, what fucking gives you the right to try and tell me that I'm supposed to do shit for you? Who the fuck are you to be wanting me or asking me to do a goddamn thing for you? Get off your fucking ass and do it your goddamn self. I would see it as wanting to tear into these jackasses like a monkey on a fucking cupcake. Number 2, the threat of torture or thought crime. This is Christianity through and through. And I could see it as having the God literally flipping the fuck out. Because it is the idea that if you don't think, as these Christians are saying, that you are going to be tortured, putting aside the fact that it is clearly written in the Old Testament, Jeremiah 32:35, that people burning children in fire to Baal at the valley of the son of Hinnom was called a sin and an abomination by the God. It is absolutely immoral. You also do not show that somebody is wrong by threatening to hurt them if they're not a mirror of you. The asshole in that situation is you, not the person that's not buying into your bullshit. And number 1, the entire concept of salvation. If a God would exist, this whole salvation concept would have it ready to be punching holes in walls and yelling at you jackasses. You can't buy your way out of it. Because that's what you want to do. It would be akin to a husband giving a gift to his wife and saying, this is for the affair I'm going to have. Or this is for the beating you up I'm going to do. You can't pay for something before you fucking do it. That very notion is obnoxious. And it slaps the God or a person in the face if you try to do it. It is not a virtue. It is not a sign of love. It is a sign of, I only care about my ass. Fuck you. I want to be able to buy my way out of any situation, regardless of what I do. I don't want to have to change my behavior. I don't want to have to own up to what I've done. I want to be able to say I think something, so that makes it all better. It would be akin to a child looking at a parent and saying, "Nah, nah, 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 you can't touch me. I believe in magical pixies, and magical pixies paid for it." I don't agree with spanking. But a child do that with me, I would want to spank not just their ass, I'd want them to produce these magical pixies so I could give them an ass beating too. Because it is obnoxious to try and act like you can be redeemed, forgiven, washed clean before you fucking do it. That means you don't want to have to change your behavior. You don't want to have to be a man or a woman and accept responsibility for what you have done. You want to have an easy out. If a God would exist, Christians, you best really think about your behavior and how you're acting, because what you could face is a God that is fucking livid. Because all your life you have been taunting it, insulting it left and right, and wanting to act like it's all about you. Me, give me this, give me that, I want this, do this for me, but I don't want to have to take responsibility for a goddamn thing. It is obnoxious. But feel free to leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. Later, people.